there's this thing I've called the distributed idea suppression complex, or the DISC.
Is this your coinage?
Yeah, I coin lots of stuff.
Yeah, you coin a lot of,
Yeah, but then the weird thing is you watch it in the world, and it only works if you're coining something that people actually recognize as real. It's not like you can make up anything and it just goes. Yeah. But there is this thing that tried to suppress all ideas. It's still working. Like they're trying to make Andrew Yang not appear on MSNBC on any of the graphics, or Tulsi gets, dropped at every opportunity.
Yeah.
This thing just doesn't want to hear that there's a massive intergenerational transfer where the two vampiric generations of the silents and the boomers transfuse the Xers and the millennials in order to allow them to live in the style to which they become accustomed. And like the most obvious place that you see this is the university system.
Explain that.
Oh, it's a pyramid. It was a pyramid scheme that was expanding. Mm-hmm. And when the growth that was natural in the system ran out, there was no way to give people professorships who had been contributing their youth to the research of those above them.
Right.
And so what the universities did, almost every top university loaded up on administrators and then made tuition insanely expensive and made it impossible to get rid of the debt in bankruptcy, so that you can die, getting a Social Security check and still paying your student loans. I'm going to do a show, hopefully, with Sugar Baby University, which is a program inside of Seeking Arrangement sugar dating. Okay. Where it would appear that the appeal is that young women who are, and some men, burdened with student debt can graduate debt-free by dating older, successful people and getting an allowance every month. Okay. Which I think is just like, it's weird to imagine a generation sort of selling its daughters into borderline commercial sex work.
Yeah, I mean, it's monstrous. And the idea that you would institutionalize this?
Well,
with like a degree, it's like the University
and then you'd yell
of
at
Phoenix
people like,
for hookers.
Why don't you get a job bussing tables to pay off your student loans when student tuition has gone, above medical tuition, which is above regular regular inflation. I mean, sorry, medical inflation is above regular inflation, and tuition inflation is above medical. The whole thing is mad.
We are up to $1.5 trillion in school debt. It's like 38K a head. That was like $100 billion in like 1999. So we've like gone up 15x since then, and it's crippling us. It's
That's insane.
Our education system has a lot to be desired. And one of the things I'm saying is like, it's making all these kids think that college is the end all be all, and it is not.
Yeah.
And so that's one issue, is that we need to try and prepare kids for different kinds of paths instead of saying college, college, college.
Yeah.
Because they're going to college, they're getting loaded up with record levels of debt. College has gotten 2.5 times more expensive, even though it has not gotten 2.5 times better. And the reason why it's gotten so expensive is because they've just gotten really bloated administratively.
And one of the things that I hate is talking to my friends about college debt. You know, friends that are in their 30s and 40s.
It's just following them around.
Yeah, it just stays with them like a wet blanket that you can never get out of.
I used to call my school loans my mistress because I was writing a check to like another family in another town. I was like, I hope they're enjoying themselves. So it's like I'm sending like $900 a month to my loans.
And what's crazy is that if something devastating happens to you in any other form, you can file for bankruptcy. But you never escape your student loans, no matter what happens to you.
That was just some lobbying on the part of the financial companies, man. They just lobbied the crap out of it.
That is dirty. That's really dirty. When you think about how many people that run corporations that have racked up, I mean, just think about what happened with the savings and loan crisis.
Completely, man.
And those guys skated. Woo!
Yeah.
The vast majority they're carrying around zero burden from that.
Yes.
The vast majority. No one went to jail except a few people.
Not really anybody.
Well, real criminals like Bernie Madoff went to jail. A few people went to jail.
That's true.
But that's about it. You'd have to be a real fucking thief to go to jail. And these people that just, they did this and got away with it and profited and redistributed all this money into their own personal accounts and and fuck the whole economy sideways.
Yeah, but heaven forbid you take out a bunch of school loans and then things go south. Like, you can't get out of it.
I mean, I know a guy who's in his 50s, who's an ophthalmologist, who's deeply in debt still. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. And if you look at it just economically, it's a massive burden on people starting businesses, starting families, buying homes, instead of living with their parents.
Is it possible?
It's possible to fix, for sure. So the first thing you do is you go to the people that are currently in debt and say, look, we're going to give you a path out. And there are ways to do it. You can have a payment plan. One of the things I'm proposing is like a 10 by 10, where if you commit 10% of your wages for 10 years, then you're debt free. And that means, like, if you're not making a lot of money, then you can save a whole lot. And the schools at this point have long since forgotten about these loans, because they got paid off already. This is just these financial companies that are holding the loans.
That's important for people to understand, because people think, well, if you don't pay them, then the colleges are going to go away.
No. So if you're the government, you can be like, hey, loan company, guess what? Like, good news, we're going to take this off. It's a stimulus. Because like you said, we've done a lot of things that were supposed to be a stimulus, like give $4 trillion to the banks and be like, that'll stimulate the economy. Nothing's going to stimulate the economy better than getting student loans off the backs of freaking young people, because they'll actually do what they're supposed to do, which is actually, spend money in the economy,
take chances,
start businesses, and the rest of it. The second thing you do is you go to the schools and say, hey guys, why are you 2.5 times more expensive than you used to be? That's kind of weird, because as far as I can tell, there's been no massive quality change. And the reason is that they've hired a lot of administrators. It has not gone to faculty. It has not gone to facilities. It has gone to just administrative excess and bloat. And then say, okay, you can do whatever you want, but if you want access to federal loans, which they all rely upon for their life's blood, like without it, they die. If you want your students to have access to federal loans, you have to bring your administrator to student ratio in line with what it was like in the 1990s. And then the schools would scream bloody murder. They'd be like, I can't do that. That's impossible. And you'd be like, well, I have a feeling you're going to figure it out. That they would start bringing it down, and you would realize it doesn't impact the student experience at all. I understand it, because I've run a large nonprofit organization that I'd started, and your very natural tendency is just to hire excellent people, and then before you know it, you're like, have excellent people, like, vice deans of everything. Mm-hmm. But then over time, that ends up building a very large cost structure that gets passed along to the public. So you bring the costs down. Now, you said before, Bernie's like free college for everyone. The problem with that solution is it pretends that college solves the employment problems of young people. Right. And anyone who's coming out of college knows that that's not real. The underemployment rate for recent college graduates today is 44%. So you had like a 50-50 shot if you come out of college, you're doing a job that doesn't really require a degree. And 94% of new jobs created right now are gig, temporary, or contractor jobs that don't have real paths forward or healthcare benefits of the rest of it.
Yeah, I was reading something about people. Actually, it might have been in that the book that I was just telling you about, Yuval Noah Harari.
Yeah, 21st Century. Yeah,
it was. I always say that guy's name wrong.
It's a tricky name.
Yuval Noah Harari. Yeah, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. I think he was talking about how many people plan on not being in the same job in 10 years because that job won't exist anymore versus what it used to be. It used to be that people would think that they were going to get a job and they would stay in that job.
Yeah, I know.
And now they're planning that they're going to have to move, that they're not going to be able to keep the same job. And as automation kicks in, this is obviously going to bottleneck. It's going to get even worse.
Yeah, completely. So the ideal is that you end up training young people to be really, really adaptable and have low cost structures and just be able to, become entrepreneurs. And I spent 7 years trying to train young people to do just that. But one of the things I've discovered is that we're overemphasizing college, and what we're underemphasizing is technical, vocational, and apprenticeship work. Because a lot of that work, believe it or not, it's actually really hard to automate. Like, we're not going to automate an air conditioning repair person or a plumber anytime soon.
And for sure, craftsmen, people who build things.
And it's good for your mental health and a bunch of other things. So right now, only 6% of American high school students are in technical or vocational training. In Germany, that's 59%. Give you a sense of what the gap can be. So what we're doing is we're overprescribing college. We're saying college for everyone. It's not really working that well. And then we're still treating people who are working in trades and everything as somehow, not in great careers when a lot of those careers are actually really awesome and they pay great and people enjoy them. They're persistent. So right now we're going to automate away. It's a lot easier to automate away a lot of repetitive cognitive work than it is non-repetitive manual work. Because like actual robot digits, it's like, because if you can imagine what it would take to have a robot plumber like come into your house, I mean, that stuff's really, really tricky.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of fine motor work. They have to like unscrew pipes and like stuff. That stuff's not going to get automated for a long time. You know what is going to get automated? A lot of like entry-level cognitive tasks, a lot of journalism tasks, a lot of bookkeeping, a lot of stuff that college graduates think they're going to get a job in, but then those jobs are going to disappear. I was a corporate attorney for those 5 unhappy months, and my friends are working on AI that can automate away a lot of basic legal work. So these college grads are like, oh, snap, don't know what to do, man. I'll go to law school, then like load up with another $120K in debt, and then like the legal jobs are not going to be there for them.
It's often the problem of their parents giving them pressure to go into college as well because they don't want the kid to become a loser. And if the kid, like where I grew up in Boston, if you went into the trades, if you abandoned like the idea of higher learning and going to college and just went right into like learning to be a carpenter or something like that, people would look at you like, oh, you sold yourself short. But there's so many people that I know that went to school that just got university degrees and then they got out and they were fucked.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so common. It's so common that they thought there was going to be this path, and this path just didn't exist once they got out, or it was far, far more difficult than they were led to believe.
Yeah, if you look at it, about 32% of Americans graduate from college right now, and that level has been more or less constant for a long time. It's not like, hey, I've got another 20% I could get into college. Like right now, the college completion rate in 6 years is about 59%. So like 4 out of 10 people who start college are not graduating in 6 years, and a lot of them are just not going to finish ever. So like the people that have other paths available to them, we have to build those paths up. And this is one reason why I'm so into the freedom dividend instead of something like free college. Because why would you subsidize something that only the top third of the population is going to use? And it's a highly inefficient, costly system anyway. Like plowing money into that, you're much better off putting $1,000 a month into every 18-year-old's hands than if they go to college. Great, college is partially paid for. They go to trade school. Great, trade school is partially paid for. They start their own business. They do something creative, like they want to do something to help. That's great too. Like you can actually start building more varied paths and make it so that people don't feel like I need to get into this institution or else my life's going to be over.
One of the biggest rackets in this country after management consulting is the idea that all people should go to college. I think Germany has it right. They send most of them to vocational programs.
Yeah.
The idea that you should even be paying, $40,000 a semester in tuition to get a communications degree as a super senior for 5 years is preposterous. Nobody needs to be saddled. Huh?
You're going to blow it for these generations.
Yeah, why?
Because it's a scam, man. They turned the most amazing part of our country into this wealth transfer scam. It's just it's funny, but it's painful.